Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. And today we're going to talk about the Tor Audio Roger. This is a toroidal tube amplifier. If you don't know what a toroidal is, I'll just leave it up to the links down below from Tor Audio to explain it. They do a whole lot better job than I ever would. So just check out the links down below for the Tor Audio website. All right, so now they have several different versions of the amplifiers that they make. They also make a DAC amp, they make a balanced version, and they make one with or without a rectifier. This one has a rectifier in it. And it's a very unique tube amplifier. And I kind of wanted to get a tube amplifier that was different from all the others. And I've had several tube amplifiers through the years, but I've never had anything that was super expensive, and never really was completely happy with all the tube amplifiers I had. I had different hybrid versions, and I had some OTLs, and they just kind of were all right. They were fun to kind of mix and match some of the tubes in them, but nothing ever really caught my eye and just wowed me. And I did have a Baldych that kind of stood out for me. It was a hybrid, and it kind of really did a little bit of magic sauce with the Sennheiser HD600. But what really caught my eye was when I had gone to the various different audio meets and audio shows, people always brought in like a bottlehead crack or something, a unique type of tube amplifier. And it was always paired with a Sennheiser HD600. And I always had this just emotional time listening to it. And so I said, I want a tube amplifier, something that's unique, looks different, is built nice, and just has this emotion with me. So I started searching, and I came across the Tor Audio Roger. And I really started looking at it. The price tag was a little hefty, and it was a little bit to the point of, man, do I really want to pay that kind of price tag? And I finally decided, yeah, I'm going to. So I took what little funds that I had received through gifts and through support on the channel, and then also what I had saved up, and I had just enough to get the Tor Audio Roger. So I want to thank my supporters and patrons, gifts through PayPal and all of those, for helping me to purchase the Tor Audio Roger. So some quick specs. This is a headphone amplifier that is, as I said, a toroidal transformer. Has a frequency response of 10 hertz to 125 kilohertz. Recommended load impedance is 25 ohms to 600 ohms. Has an output through the 1/4 inch jack of 450 milliwatts. Uses the different tubes. It uses a rectifier, which is a 6C5S, or the analog version would be the 6X5GT. And then it also uses power tube, which is a 6N8S, or the analog version, which is a 6SN7. And it does use a, as I said, toroidal audio transformer. And that's basically it. It's a very simple device, nice wood, built very nicely. It's solid, looks beautiful, has wood edges, very solid. Here's your power switch and your volume knob, which is very smooth. And then your input is a 1/4 inch in, and your output is 1/4 inch out. So if you're going to use this with a DAC, you would need an RCA to 1/4 inch cable. Something simple, just works very well. You don't need anything extremely expensive, just RCA to 1/4 inch. And I find that it plays well. And then on the back side, you have your electric input. I find that it's very simple. It's a little odd in that it has the quarters out up on top. And so sometimes your cables, you kind of have to run them around and do some things so you don't get your cables hot and burnt. And the volume knob being on top. It took me a few moments to get used to the setup, but afterwards, I've really kind of just grown to love the look of the Tor Audio Roger. Here on the right side, right above the power, is your rectifier, and then right above the volume, that is your power tube. And I did change out from stock tubes. I listened to it for about a week or 2 weeks or so with the stock tubes in. I really enjoyed it. They had a nice tubey sound. It pretty much sounded just like a normal tube amplifier. It didn't really wow me like, oh wow, this is crazy good. It was more like, this is nice. I like it. It has a good flow to it, a little warmness, has good depth and layering, and you know, it's doing it for me with the HD600, but it wasn't wowing me. So I went, and of course I had purchased some stuff to try out some other tubes. So let me show you the stock tubes real quick. They're right here. So here's the rectifier. It just looks like it's a pretty standard tube, probably something Russian. I can't tell. I can't find anything on it, specifically what they use. And then here is the power tube, and just very basic looking, doesn't have any markings as far as manufacturers. So I started, as I said, I purchased some other tubes, and I've purchased some more as time has gone along. And I really did start to notice some differences. Now, I didn't notice a big difference by changing the rectifier. The one thing that a lot of people say, if you change the rectifier, you'll notice a huge difference. Didn't really notice that. Maybe I'm missing something, I'm not sure. But the rectifier didn't make a huge difference for me. But I have tried two rectifiers. I tried an RCA, and this is a 6X5GT. One thing that I did notice, it seemed like the gain boosted a little bit more when I used the RCA. Also, I used a Sylvania, which is this one here. And I like the Sylvania just a little bit better. Again, I'm not sure what I'm hearing differently. But as far as looks, I like the Sylvania. It's got this little itty bitty lip on the bottom, and it just sits real flush. And then when it glows, it's by far the most glowing of the rectifiers that I have. The stock one's very dim, doesn't really glow a whole lot. The RCA glows pretty decently, and the Sylvania just lights up and just looks awesome. And so there you go. That's the reason why I like the Sylvania. So those are the three rectifiers that I have. I have the Sylvania 6X5GT and the RCA 6X5GT, and then the stock one. As far as power tubes that I use, and this is where I started to notice some real significant differences, especially over stock. And I was really kind of surprised by that, because all the other times that I've used a tube amplifier, it was always a little bit, maybe I hear a difference, and I did a little bit here. These were a little bit more significant. And so one of the tubes that I use is a Electro-Harmonix, and this is a 6SN7EH with gold pins. And I found that this actually has a really nice, clean, clear, very airy type of sound, and it doesn't quite have the body that a lot of times you get in a tube amp. It's a little bit more just airy and fluffy. Fluffy, I guess, is a word for it. It just kind of flows, and it's really nice. Has a nice warmer tone to it, but it's not a thick and rich, robust sound that you can get out of a tube. And then along comes the Tunxel. Now this is a recommendation from DMS, and he was raving about the Tunxels, and so I was like, okay, I gotta pick one up. And so I picked one up, and I've got to say, this thing is really sweet sounding. It's got a nice sweet tone to it, and it's a very smooth and lush sound. Has a nice richness to it, especially in the bass and the mids. You get a little robust sound, but then up top you have a nice airiness to it and get good details and clarity as well. And then the other thing that the Tunxel really does nicely is, even though it's not a super wide soundstage, it's a very good at depth and layering, and you can really place things on the stage real well with the Tunxel. I really enjoy that. I actually like the Tunxel better than the Electro-Harmonix. And then I got another recommendation from a friend on Discord, and Tom, and he said, you got to get an RCA Grayscale. And so this is a NOS Grayscale 6SN7GT from RCA Victra. And I like this thing. It's kind of a interesting sound. It's not the same as the tungsten or the electro harmonics. It's kind of like a mixture of the two. So you get this like wider stage, but at the same time it's nice and airy and very just smooth with very crystalline clear details. And then the bass and the mids are warmer, but they're not quite as thick as they are on the tungsten, but they're not quite as thin as they are on the electro harmonics. And it's a really nice balance between them. I really enjoy the RCA. It's a very nice flowy sound signature. And then I was like, okay, I'm spending the money for a Tor Audio Roger. I've got to get something that I've always dreamed of owning, which is a Pisvani. I've got to get some Pisvani tubes. I've always heard such great things about them and that they are one of the premier tubes to own. And so I said, I have a high-end tube amplifier. Let's get some high-end tubes. And so I got a Pisvani 6SN7C. And I just love the look of it. It's just cool looking, nice and clear. It lights up nice. You get a nice glow to it. But the nice thing about the Pisvani is that it's a wide stage with really good depth and layering. And then also on top of that, you have a nice bass impact and rich tones in the bass and the mids, but it's not all muddy or anything like that. It's very well controlled, and the treble is very smooth. You get details that are just right there, and they have that edge to them. And I just really enjoy the 6SN7C from Pisvani. And then someone else recommended, hey, if you like 6SNs and you got to try them, you got to try some of the Pisvani special editions. And so as you can see here, we have the globe. And I ended up getting the blue edition and then the silver special edition. And I was like, whoops. It looks okay. We'll try it later. So I tried the two, the blue and the silver. And everybody was like, you won't hear a difference. There's not a difference. I beg to differ. There actually is a difference between the two, and that is that the blue is a little bit more robust, a little bit more thick, a little bit more bombastic, I guess you could say. It's not muddied up or anything like that, but it is a little bit of a more full and robust sound, whereas the silver one is a little bit more airy and a little bit more just clean and a little bit lighter in the bass. And I definitely did notice a difference. And then my friend Jordy said, hey man, if you get in Pisvani, you have got to get a CV181 T2. And I'm like, okay. I looked up the price. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. So I waited. And I waited, and a couple months after owning the Tor Audio, I was finally able to obtain a Pisvani CV181. And I must say that this is actually my favorite tube with the Sylvania rectifier in the Tor Audio. I find that it has a nice, very good control, a really nice and wide soundstage with extremely good depth and layering, very good details that are pinpoint and very much right there, but also at the same time aren't fatiguing, and it is a very lush and just romantic sound. And when I'm looking at a tube amplifier and listening to it, I want something that's going to wow me and take me to a different place. I'm not using a tube amplifier to do critical listening. I'm doing it to relax and chill and be taken away, and just for that enjoyment factor. And that CV181 and the Tor Audio do that for me. Now a couple things of note on the Tor Audio. It does not play well with planars. It will not power them. It doesn't matter which planar it is. It doesn't do it for me. And it's lacking power, it's lacking volume, there's just not enough headroom, And so it is made for dynamics. And I find that the Tor Audio Roger plays the best on dynamics, and I really enjoy it with my Sennheiser HD600, which is a good thing because that's specifically what I bought it for, was for pairing with my Sennheiser HD600. It also plays really well with the Sennheiser HD560S, and I find that I enjoy the 560S a whole lot more on the Tor Audio Roger than on anything else. I really do enjoy it on there. And then also the Meze 99 Classics and Allo S4X are very good on the tube. So anything basically that is a dynamic plays extremely well with the Tor Audio Roger. So if you're looking for a tube amplifier for dynamic headphones and you want to roll some tubes and really get to hear the differences and all the nuances and just have a unique experience, I highly recommend that you look at a Tor Audio Roger. This has been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen is going to be a subscription link and notification bell. If you haven't already, please check those off. And then also don't forget to check out the links down below for all kinds of information regarding music playlists that were used, gear that is recommended, how you can support the channel, how you can follow the channel, all kinds of other things. And just check out those links down below. And also there will be a note down below, a pinned comment saying whether or not this RCA grayscale survived that drop that you heard and saw. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.